morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, a.k.a. Slim Cliffy, joining me for the next hour to talk about whether the Boston Bruins should truly trade Jake DeBrusk or just leave him on the top line now. Our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Didn't read the run sheet, kind of blindsided by that question, but you know what? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
He smashed last night.
Yeah,
absolutely smashed.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends on the return, because if you're going to get a Toffoli-like return, I say don't do it. But if you're going to get a good return, then I say au revoir, senor. See you later.
That feels like a bit of a slap in the face to Tyler Toffoli. That guy's averaging 32 goals per 82 games over his last 3 years. Like, he's pretty good.
No, I'm not slandering Toffoli. I'm slandering former Rangers GM Jeff Gorton for getting an underwhelming return.
Okay, gotcha. Completely understood on that front. Welcome everybody to the Yahoo Awesemo Fantasy NHL Fantasy Strategy Show presented by Yahoo. They've been our sponsor all season long. They've been wonderful to us. If you're new here, if you haven't played DFS over on Yahoo yet, we have a giveaway through Yahoo we can talk about a little bit later in the show. Before we get too much further, see about 50 people in the chat. If you guys could, please throw us a thumbs up. Those likes really help us. The subscriptions help us out even more. Those are what grow the channel and keep these shows coming across a lot of sports, basically on a daily basis. I think we're up to like 4 NBA shows a day now. The more subscribers we get, the more shows like that we can bring. So keep those subscriptions coming. All right, Josh. Let's talk about last night real quick. I did not do well. I had Washington and Los Angeles. That did not pay off by any stretch. Boston absolutely laid a beat down on Los Angeles, 7-0. I kind of want to talk about that game first. Boston is going to be on the slate a little bit later. We'll talk about that team. But Los Angeles have been playing exceptionally well basically since Christmas. And, you know, Boston, another cup contender from a different conference, walks into town and just absolutely obliterates them. I don't know if we can really draw anything away from that. Los Angeles seemed to me like one of the teams that have been coming on in the West over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden this, what did you make of that?
Yeah, it was crazy because the Kings were one of my biggest future bets preseason to make the playoffs. And they probably are going to make the playoffs. They're 3-1 to make the playoffs, which was weird pricing if you look at division. But anyway, it just goes to show you the elite teams in the East are better than the mid-range teams in the West. Boston Bruins just came in there and they just, I don't know, John Quick, the Kings have a goalie problem. I think
that's another thing too. I agree,
because Quick is, he's older now. He's not the John Quick of 2014 when he beat the Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Cal Peterson had a good season last year, but whoop, baby, has he been bad this year. But regardless of that, both the Kings' top lines got absolutely ran over last night, which is rare to see for the Kings' second line because they just been running over everybody. And they just got, for lack of a better term, curb stomp last night.
Yeah, they did. It was a real big beatdown. New Jersey also laid a pretty big beatdown on their own. Toronto went into Washington and took a 5-3 win as well. We had some winners in the chat. I saw Provius post a good night on Yahoo's. I think 2 lineups were posted. One had some first and second place finishes in some smaller contests, and the other lineup had literally negative points. And they posted, the duality of man. And it's true. That's the way DFS goes. It's hard to pull off a negative on DraftKings or FanDuel these days, but on Yahoo you can with the plus minus certainly. But that's the way it goes. That's why we do tend to play. You play one lineup. Others tend to play a lot more. It's because it doesn't always go the way we think every single night. But congrats to you, Provius, and Jason Zyman. I think it was the second in the 333, if I'm not mistaken. Congrats to him as well. You had a good night on the week, or a good afternoon, I should say, on the weekend on Saturday. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. Normally I don't play early or late slates. But then I was looking at about an hour before our shows, I always go into YouTube and I'll click the like button. So it's in my like video. So I don't have to go searching for it. and I saw it was billed as a live before locks. I was like, all right, I guess we're doing the early slate. So I registered for a couple contests in the 8, made a swap on air while the Caps goalie situation was quite a scene. And so I ended up switching to Carter Hart, and I left TJ Oshie in there, and he scored the only Caps goal against Hart. And I had a Florida 6-man stack. It wasn't a Josh stack. A true Josh stack would have the goalie with them. Big difference. But I ended up winning everything I entered, which was hilarious. I even tweeted the Awesemo Hall of Fame, and they retweeted me. I don't know if they saw the contest size or not, but I think I snuck myself in there.
Yeah, Josh has been champing at the bit all season long to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Finally pulled it off on Saturday on the early slate. Had a real awesome afternoon. Congrats to you. That was fun to see. But we do have 9 games we have to talk about here tonight. Just real quick before we get to those games, we do have free premium tools and data up on the site. We have our NBA and NHL player rankings up on the site today, as well as our PGA top golfers for the tournament this week. We have a podcast giveaway as well. Just head on over to the Awesemo podcast channel below and give us a 5-star review while leaving your Twitter handle or Awesemo subscriber username, and you can be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We've also, as I mentioned earlier, we're up to, I think, 4 NBA shows a day now. The newest show is the NBA props betting show called Locks Before Lock. I believe it's every weekday, 30 minutes before the deeper dive over on our Odd Shopper YouTube channel. So head on over to the Odd Shopper YouTube channel for Locks Before Lock, before the deeper dive, for anybody out there interested in some NBA prop bets directly from our experts. All right, we got 9 games we got to talk about. Let's get to this first game here, Josh. We have Ottawa with a 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Tampa Bay. The Bolts have a 3.7 implied goal total. Pretty significant change on the weekend to the Senators lineup. Colin White was back for them. He got injured in the preseason, hasn't played at all this year. That was his first game. He's back for Ottawa. He's on the top line with Brady Tkachuk. Second line, Alex Formenton, Tim Stutzla, Adam Gaudette. On the Tampa Bay side, Anthony Cirelli, obviously up on the line with Steven Stamkos and Alex Killorn. Everything else looks about the same. Matt Murray confirmed for Ottawa. I'm looking at some of the ownership percentages, and it doesn't seem like very high ownership on Tampa Bay here tonight. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know, because in that price range, there's, Colorado one, Carolina one's more expensive. Then you have like the McDavids in there. Like, there's not truly many. The only line over 20,000 today on DraftKings is Carolina one. They're almost 23K, which is bananas, and we'll get to later. So I think a lot of people are going to go for some mid-range builds here, because there's a lot of playable lines from like 14 to 17K tonight. So I don't know. I think paying up for Tampa is an interesting play. It's one that I'm probably going to mess around with in my builds I haven't built yet. I like Tampa power play here. Point Kucherov, they're coming in, those two coming in around 8-9%, which feels low. Like, I feel like it's going to come up. But then you look down at the second line, like Stamkos is 6,300. It's hard not to add him in. It's like, yeah, the line goes up to over like 21K with that, but like that's reasonable for Tampa Bay in this spot. 3.7 against the Senators, who did this to their lines. Like, their lines are an absolute mess. You want to leave off Palat, adding Killorn. If you can't get the Stamkos, that's also fine. Palat is more expensive than Killorn, but Killorn gets the top power play time. So I think at the ownership, I'm very interested in Tampa Bay here. You can go Tampa 1 if you want. You can go Tampa 2 if you want. I think they're both in really good matchups. But for me, I'm going to concentrate on the power play. I know Matt Murray has been pretty good recently, but Chabot should be back, which should help them. But I just still think this is Tampa night. And if you like the power play, you like the power play. You like one, you like one. You like two, you like two. But for me, I'm going to go Tampa power play, then Tampa 1, then Tampa 2. On the Senators side, I'm just not sure there's a line that I would want a full stack. And on top of that, it's a 2.2 total on the road, which is minuscule. You look at like, Adam Gaudette's 2,600 on the top power play, but like the Lightning power play isn't, or penalty kill isn't great, but it's not awful. On top of that, Gaudette played 9 minutes last game, 10 before that. Now you have 6,900 Brady Tkachuk, but he's playing with Colin White, who's in his second game all season. Zach Sanford, who's not on the top power play. Second line, Stützle and Gaudette makes some sense, but it's not a great matchup. Gaudette barely played 9 minutes. Stützle, I don't know. Tyler Ennis on the top power, his minutes are concerned. There just isn't anything that concrete that I'd be I feel good about these guys getting some power play time and getting 15 to 17 minutes. It's just not there. So I'm probably out on the Senators tonight.
Yeah, I will say I'm 20 maxing here tonight. I don't think I'm going to have anything, not a stack from Ottawa. I agree with you on Colin White. It's a second game back through the entire season, and they're going into the teeth of Tampa Bay 1 or even Tampa Bay 2. That line has been better now with Anthony Cirelli. They're better defensively anyway. So that I definitely wouldn't go to the top line. The second line with Formenton and Stützle, Formenton and Stützle haven't been bad together. It's not, obviously it's a really bad matchup. And I find there are other spots I would rather go to at a similar price that doesn't have a terrible projection like these guys do. So I no problem really going to Ottawa too. Thomas Chabot coming back will probably help them way more offensively than it will defensively. I don't think it changes much defensively, honestly. It's just, it'll help them move the puck a lot better. And that's why I think, maybe the second line can get there. But for me, it's just Tampa. And it's the Tampa top line for me. Steven Stamkos, I wrote about him in a Power Plays article, free to read up on Awesemo.com. It's just his price. Like you said, 6,300 top power play going up against, not a terrible penalty kill, but certainly not a good one in Ottawa. And they do take their fair share of penalties as well. So, if you do want to slide into Stamkos, that's fine. But I do think just, straight stacking the top line is fine as well. So Tampa 1, Tampa power play. On the blue line, if you wanted, I don't think there's a Ottawa defenseman I'd really use, because it's not like Tampa's a high shot volume team. They typically wait for their chances. So I don't know if I'd really do anything here besides correlate on the Tampa side. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything on the Ottawa side. Maybe if you're looking for a little bit of offensive upside, you could play Jake's boy Nick Holden at min price, but I don't know. I feel like there's better options at min price tonight.
Yeah.
So Hedman for me for sure on Tampa, if not Ryan McDonough. I think that's really about it.
Yeah, no problem with that. Let's get to this next game then. Edmonton 3.6 implied goal total going into Philly. The Flyers have a 2.9 implied goal total. This Philly team has gotten better as the year has gone on. I know we like to slander Mike Yeo a little bit here, and the offense definitely has some work to do, but defensively, this isn't a tire fire team anymore. At least not at 5-on-5.
AV is a terrible defensive coach.
Yes, thank you. On the penalty kill, it's a different story. The Flyers PK still hasn't been great or even good. Closer to the bottom 5, but at least at 5-on-5, they have been better over the last 6 weeks. But it's still Edmonton, and Edmonton is going 11-7, which they have a couple injuries in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Jesse Puljujarvi as it is. If they're going 11-7 with those injuries, that tells me Connor McDavid is playing 23 minutes. Leon Draisaitl is playing 22 minutes. Evander Kane's playing 22 minutes. Kyler Yamamoto might even get up in the high teens. Who knows? It's not that I think it's a great matchup for Edmonton, but I do see a good power play matchup and lots of ice time. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, that top line for Philly with Farabee actually has been pretty good on both ends of the ice. So, it's not the best 5-on-5 matchup, but if the Oilers are going to go 11-7, McDavid and Draisaitl are taking shifts together. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen often. So I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but what do? You power play stack the Oilers. This is just what it's gonna be. If you can't get up to the big boys and you want to include Fogle or Yamamoto, there's a good chance that McDavid and Draisaitl are gonna get some power play 2 time with them anyway. It's kind of like the Ovechkin situation. They're gonna play most of the 2 minutes, so you can include Fogle if you need this hour. You can include Yamamoto. if you need the salary. But for me, the four guys I'm concentrating on are McDavid, Hyman, Kane, Draisaitl. You want to put in all four, that's fine. You want to put three of the four. As long as you have at least one of McDavid or Draisaitl, you mix and match around them. Go about your day if you're in on Edmonton, and that's what you do. Or that's what I do. You don't have to do that, but that's what I'm recommending. On the Flyer side, with the Oilers going 11-7, I think that benefits the top line because Fogle, McDavid, Hyman is a pretty good defensive iteration of the McDavid line. But if they're going to throw together like McDavid, Draisaitl, Yamamoto for a couple shifts, that might get pretty high event. I don't know if I'm going to get to the Flyers top line in 1 to 3, but they have a fairly sizable total for going up against a team that has a massive total. So they're fully correlated. They're not overly expensive. Their ownership's around 4%, which is fine. This line has been pretty good. Edmonton has issues defensively and in net. So I think if I was 20 maxing, even getting 2 of 20 Flyers won here, you're going to double the field. I think there's going to be goal scored in this game. If I was a betting man, I am. I'd probably bet the over. So I'm in on, Flyers 1. They might even if I make one line. If I was making 3, they might even be in consideration in that third. This is a good line. It's possible to have good lines on bad teams. Dallas 1, for example. So I'm fine with that. You want to go to the second line? I wish they had better power play correlation, but I do like Travis connecting. I do like Lindblom. Lawton surprisingly has been decent, but for me, it's going to be Flyers 1 if I'm going to go to Flyers.
Yeah, I'm not going to cover much on the Edmonton side. I agree with you. There are those core 4 players that you really have to kind of build around McDavid, Hyman, Kane, Draisaitl, because I think this is a better power play matchup for them than it is 5-on-5. So focus on those 4 guys. If you end up with a Yamamoto on there or a Fogle on there, in one of your lineups, that's fine. But it's those 4 guys that I would absolutely focus on. Evander Kane was in the Power Plays article, again, up at Awesemo.com, free for everybody to read. So that's where I am on the Edmonton side. On the Flyers side, I kind of agree with you on the top line. They're projecting very well for us, coming in over 30 points as a top line projected stack. That's not far off what we have for Columbus and Columbus's top line. And Columbus's top line has a much higher implied goal total. It seems like we're expecting goals to probably come from this Flyers top 6, most likely the top line, if they score here tonight. So I agree with you. The top line in their sample here together, 54% of the shot share, 55% of the scoring chances. They've been good. And maybe they get, outsized ice time because McDavid and Draisaitl are going to skate so much. So I agree with you on Flyers 1. I'm going to probably try to use them as kind of a fillery type lineup. But I really like the Edmonton power play in this game. On the blue line, with 7 defensemen on the Oilers side, there's no one guy I'd really go to. I think Darnell Nurse might be a good bet to play 24 or 25 minutes because he usually does. I don't know if anybody else gets over 20. So I think it might be Nurse or bust, even if I'm going heavy on the power play. For me on the Edmonton side. On the Flyers side, maybe Justin Braun for some shot blocks, but that's about it. What do you think?
Yeah, there's Keith Yandel and overpriced Keith Yandel and Tyson Barrie in the same game. So, if you want to correlate Barrie for the power play, that's fine. It wouldn't shock me if he played 14 minutes tonight, though. So, buyer beware. Yandel at 2,800, even on the top power play, he's like Chris Weidman at this point. So, yeah, I agree. It's either Nurse or Braun.
All right, let's get to this next game. The Columbus game, in fact. Columbus has a 3.5 implied goal total. They're at home to the New Jersey Devils. The Devils have a 3.1 implied goal total. This is a back-to-back for New Jersey. They played last night, put up 7 goals, something like that. Yeah. Elvis Merzlikins expected to start for Columbus, making his return after a couple weeks off. I don't know why they don't just stick with Berube. Honestly.
Merzlikins started over the weekend too.
Oh, okay.
He lost to Pittsburgh. But he had 40 plus saves.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. That completely slipped my mind. All right. Merzlikins in net against New Jersey. New Jersey on the road. Adam Bokvist and Zach Werenski both out for Columbus. That takes their 2 best puck movers out of the lineup. I see a 3.5 total for a team I get it. It's New Jersey, not great defensively, back-to-back, goaltending issues and all that. Columbus is straight up missing their two best puck movers. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, that scares me. If Werenski and Bachwist were in, I'd have interest in that second line. I just have a problem playing. Like, I don't have a problem playing Jenner line, but if they're going to go into a good line, like they would with Hughes, I just don't know if they're going to control the play offensively. So like I kind of like I'm high on Jack Roslovic, probably higher than most people should be. But I like him with Bjorkstrand, and they'd be going into Hischier, Brad, Zacha, which have been a pretty good line, but I don't know, without the puck moving defenseman, like who's gonna get who's getting the puck out of the zone? Dean the Mean Kukin, Gabriel Carlson, like Pete and Gavrikov block shots. Like I don't know. It gives me great pause despite the 3.5 total going to Columbus. Columbus having a 3.5 total as it is alarming. Like, so like I don't know. If you want to go Jenner Line, fine. It is back-to-back on the road for the Devils. It is going to be John Gillies. So like getting to some jackets here does make some sense, but I do worry about the lack of puck moving defensemen on the Devil side. I'm fine with the Hughes line. I'm also fine with the Hischier line. I just, on this big of a slate, back to back on the road, I don't know. Like it's a big total, 3.1. I just don't know if I'm going to get there in 1 to 3. They definitely be in my mix in 20 max though.
The Columbus top line will probably be going into the Jack Hughes line, and that Hughes line has a pretty small sample, but him and Mercer and, especially Sharon Govich, Hughes and Sharon Govich do have a long sample of typically playing well together, but Hughes and Mercer seem to have played well, but they're a little bit underwater by scoring chance share. But Columbus's top line is well underwater by scoring chance shares. So like, it's not like it's a great matchup for either side there. And then it's the second line. Hischier, Zacha, and Bratt has been really, really good for New Jersey. 58% of the shot share, 58% of the scoring chances, creating over 41 scoring chances per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Like just excellent numbers. On the flip side, the Columbus second line hasn't really been great. I don't like stacking teams back-to-back on the road. Like there are numbers that show typically they score less and allow more in that particular situation. But, it's a fairly young team. Columbus isn't very good as it is, and they're missing a couple of the better defensemen. I think it's the Hischier, Zacha, Bratt line that I kind of like here more going against the depth from Columbus, but I think either of the top two lines are fine, honestly. On the blue line, I wrote about Dougie Hamilton in the Power Plays article. He only played 19 minutes last night, and that's a bit concerning. Like, you'd expect him to lose ice time because he lost his top power play role anyway. But 19 minutes, like maybe it's because it was a blowout. That kind of could have been it. But, I'd like to see him even at 21 or 22 for his peripherals. But we know what he can do. That's why he's listed in my article at 5,800 on DraftKings. Don't mind him. I don't know what you want to do with the Columbus side because even their shot blocking D guys like Peek and Gavrikov are starting to get a little bit expensive. What do you think?
Yeah, mid or high threes for them is a bit pricey, but like with these injuries, I still would imagine they may hit mid 20s. It's just a matter of if New Jersey's going to create like they did last night. If they do, they're going to be busy blocking shots. So I think in that mid range, it's fine. I agree with Dougie. Jonas Siegenthaler, min price is fine. It's probably about it.
Yeah, not a whole lot for me for defensemen in that game besides Hamilton in some GPPs. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. Of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, then you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus NHL packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and can be easily added on to these packages at checkout, but it is not included in our base packages. However, it is a very valuable addition to your DFS arsenal for anyone looking to multi-enter contests. So stop guessing, start winning, and join Awesemo Plus today. All right, let's get to this next game. We have Carolina with a 3.6 implied goal total. They're going into Detroit. The Red Wings have a 2.4 implied goal total. Yeah, Carolina has a big total, but they're on the road and they are really starting to get expensive, whether you're playing on DraftKings or FanDuel. On the Detroit side, looks like Vlad Namestnikov back in the lineup to the top line for Detroit. Jacob Vrana, I don't suspect he's going to play, but he has been practicing at times on the third line in practice for them. I think you'll see like a full practice, et cetera, before he's actually back. Just something to keep an eye on for warmups. Carolina going into Detroit. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, so we got down here in the lineup builder. I'm noticing the Hurricanes are having the Sebastian Aho issue because the other Aho is on this slate and there's a 3 next. So like, yeah, the ownership is going to be a bit wonky until they get that fixed. I messaged our boss, Mr. Jake Harry, Mr. Jake Goodhair Harry. And he's he's going to get that fixed as soon as possible. Thanks, Jake. So we don't have proper ownership there. I would imagine because right now we have them 2%, which is way too low. Despite them being 22-7, I still think there's going to be pretty fair ownership on them because there's so many value lines tonight that are playable that I feel like they're going to be around double digits. I could be way wrong. I could be way off base, but we'll have to wait and see. With these new Detroit lines, I'm not really sure how they're going to match. I would assume Pia Suter is going to go out against Aho. Would probably be my guess.
They've been doing that a lot more lately, that second line matching. I don't know why, but it seems like that's something they're going to potentially do here tonight.
Yeah, and that is the best Detroit line. It's still not great. Their numbers have fallen off, but I still favor Carolina 1 here. If you have a line in like the 12 to 15K range that fits with Carolina 1, you can play Carolina 1. It's a great spot. I tend to worry a little bit about price because normally on a slate when you have a line almost 23K, you're forced to use a third line potentially. And I don't like using expensive Carolina because I feel like they're better when they're around 18K. But on this slate, I don't think it's a huge deal because you have lines like Vegas 2 that are 12-9. You have, Tampa 2, 14-5. There's plenty of lines in the 12 to 14K that fit with them comfortably where you're not dumping down to Rangers 4 and playing a guy you've never heard of. You know what I mean? So while 22-7 seems extreme for them, and yeah, they're going to have to do some scoring to pay off at that price, you can fit a top 6 line with them comfortably tonight. So price isn't an issue if you have a lineup that you like. It's not like 25K Colorado 1 where you have to punt your defenseman, punt your goalie, punt your second line just to get everyone in. So perfectly fine with Carolina 1 tonight, despite the heavy price tag. You want to go down to the second line, Jordan Martinhook being there doesn't do too much for me. I don't know. I think I just, go Carolina 1 or dump down to that third line. Nito Niederreiter's been doing some good stuff recently. Jordan Stahl. I'm not a Jordan Stahl guy, but at 3,200 with Nito Niederreiter lets you get in some power play stuff against a pretty weak Detroit team. On the wing side, I don't like that Nemeskov's on the top line. It really bothers me. So for me, it would probably be Detroit 2. And it's actually okay. It's an okay matchup offensively because the Carolina top line creates a bunch, but whoo, baby, do they give it up as well. So if I'm going to go to Detroit, it would be Detroit 2. I just their numbers have kind of fallen off, and it would probably just be a filler in 20 max for me. I don't think I'm going to get to anything from the wing side in 1 to 3.
Yeah, here's the thing with Carolina 1 is these guys aren't playing 21 minutes tonight. That's what kind of bothers me here. Andrei Svechnikov is going to play 17 to 18 minutes. Teravainen's probably going to be 18 to 19, and Sebastian Aho is going to be somewhere 19 to 20. It's not terrible. You're not skating 14 minutes, but if I'm paying 7,600 for Svechnikov, I'd like to get more than 17 minutes out of him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's just kind of the only thing that's holding me away, like big time from Carolina here, is that one, they're expensive. Two, I don't know if they're going to get a ton of ice time, but at the same time, if Nemestikov does get that top line matchup, it's not a tough matchup, but it is tougher than the second one. So like, I don't like, I'm not saying I'm fading Carolina here tonight. That's absolute crazy talk, but I think you're going to have to get a little bit more creative with your stack. Like maybe add in Slavin, take out Aho, put in Trocheck for a power play stack, something like that. They do worry me a little bit just because of the ice time here. And I see in chat, the Aho line has a high expected goals against. Yes, they do. What I will say is that it started to come down through this. It's been coming down through the season, and they're only allowing 25 scoring chances against per 60 minutes over their last 60 minutes, which is like well below average. So like, I'm not super concerned about them being a bad defensive line. I think that they'll trade some shots, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were like 3 months ago or whatever. I do like Carolina 1 here. I just think I might get a bit more tricky with my roster construction, like I said, with a Slavin or a Trocheck or something like that. On the Detroit side, just not a lot I like, honestly. I think the second line is probably in the best matchup. Put Bertuzzi with Fabry, hope they go out against that top line here from Carolina, because that second line has been tough defensively at times, especially with Seth Jarvis off that line. So Carolina 1, definitely for me, maybe some Detroit 2. I'm not going to X them out per se if they get in my lineups organically. Then I'll put them in, but I'm not really that high on Detroit at all here tonight. On the blue line, obviously I like Slavin if you're playing some power play time, or if you're playing some power play stacks, from Carolina, because you get some power play time. On the Detroit side, I don't really know if there's anything there I like. They have 4 defensemen that are mid-priced, and I still don't know if there's anything there I like. What do you think?
Yeah, the Slavin for me, if you want to, it's not even punting anymore. Brett Pesce is 4,300. If you're in that mid-range, he's kind of in no man's land like Jake Muzzin was all last year. I think he's fine. I just worry about how much Detroit is actually going to create, but he's fine. Nothing on the Detroit side for me.
Yeah, man, it would be nice to start using Philip Hronik again. All right, let's get to this next game. Calgary, 3.1 implied goal total going into Minnesota. The Wild also have a 3.1 implied goal total. These two teams played on the weekend, and we got 10 goals out of them. Calgary won 7-3 at home. Not a good night for me starting Cam Talbot, I'll tell you that much. Cam Talbot looks like he's starting again tonight here for Minnesota. I wrote up the Minnesota second line as a stack in the Power Plays article. I also wrote up Joel Eriksson because his price has come down considerably from earlier in the season, and he gets a lot more ice time at home. Well, not a lot more, but about a minute and a half more at home than he does on the road. I think there's a lot to play on both sides, though, here. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah. The first thing you notice is how low Calgary ownership is right now. I think it's just because, they're going to go into the Joe Eriksson matchup. But without Greenway there, it's a completely different line. Like, Eriksson and Foligno, very good defensively, but, Brandon Duhaime is not Greenway. So that line becomes way more high event, way more susceptible to giving up chances here. And Calgary 1 is very, very, very good line. I think if you want to get contrarian tonight, Calgary 1 makes a very good play in GPPs. You want to go to that second line. I think that is perfectly fine as well. They're going to get the top line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to get the top line, which, can be had. Their numbers have kind of fallen off, and you saw it that Minnesota's starting to panic. They swapped Hartman and Eriksson for a game, and that didn't work. They just got ran over because Eriksson without his wingers is a scene in itself. So I think you can go to that second line here as a filler. They're coming in around 1% as well. Perfectly fine. You want to one-off to Foley for some more power play. Minnesota Wild have a poor penalty kill. I think that's another reason to stack Calgary 1. on top of it being a better matchup. So yeah, min on Calgary, one Calgary power play. On the wild side, I agree with you. I think it is the second line. They're going to get the bottom 6 matchups for the Flames, and the Fiala-Gaudreau-Boldy line has been very, very good. And, they're coming in 2.5%. I think they make for a very nice filler. I know, like, you don't really want to go into Calgary. It's not ideal, but if you are, you're going to go into Lucic, Monahan, Toffoli. Just it is what it is, or the fourth line. And I think if Fiala, Gaudreau, Boldy get those third and fourth line matchups consistently tonight, I think they can get on the score sheet.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me here about the Minnesota and their line matching is no Jordan Greenway on that line with Eriksson Ek and Foligno. Like, we have seen them kind of change up their matching a bit when Marcus Foligno was injured earlier in the season. I don't know if they do that with Greenway missing. I guess we'll see what happens. I know that line is not as good without, like, it's greater than the sum of the parts. It's one of those types of lines. They need all 3 players there. So that's another reason why I kind of like Calgary 1 here tonight, is like this shutdown line is not the shutdown line that they would normally get going into Minnesota. It's a weakened version of the shutdown line. In fact, this Eriksson Ek and Foligno without Greenway on their line this year are basically league average defensively. It's like 2.25 expected goals against per 60 minutes. It's nothing special at all. So where Calgary's coming in 1, 2, 3%. One of the best lines in hockey this year is coming in at 1 and 2%. I'll definitely have some Calgary tonight here in my 20 max. Or some Calgary 1, because you're right. Not only is like the Minnesota penalty kill, like, it's not awful, but it's not good. And they have the 5th most time shorthanded in the NHL over the last 6 weeks. So yeah, absolutely. Calgary 1 for me on the Flame side. Minnesota, I shouldn't call Minnesota 2. It's the Boldy, Gaudreau, Fiala line, whatever you guys want to call that line. They've been very, very good this year. Like I said, I wrote about them in the Power Plays article. It's up on Awesemo.com for everybody to read. But they're controlling 56% of the scoring chances in their last 100 minutes of ice time, generating nearly 35 scoring chances per 60 minutes. Just very, very good offensively. So Minnesota 2, Calgary 1. That's where I am in this game. I think Joel Eriksson actually kind of makes a decent one-off because, like I said, he'll probably play 19 to 20 minutes at 4,200 or whatever he is on DK. I think he's a lot more expensive on FanDuel. Anyways, on the blue line, there really isn't a whole lot. I shouldn't say there isn't a whole lot. There are players that are interesting to me, but it's weird that the Calgary defensemen are kind of being priced up. Like Noah Hannafin in the 4Ks. He's been there at times, but not all the time. Shillington pretty much seems like he never moves from 3,600. Chris Tanev all the way up to 3,400. I don't know what you want to do with Calgary defensemen. On the Minnesota side, if I was playing Minnesota 1, I'd probably just stack with Spurgeon. If I wasn't, I think you can dump all the way down to like a John Merrill or just not play a defenseman. What do you think?
Yeah. Defensemen in this game are weird. I like Tanev at 3,400. He needs to get a bonus. He doesn't hit the score sheet very often. Erica Branson, if you really need a punt, he's been active recently. Shillington at 3,600, I'd probably play him over Anderson or Hannafin, but I'm not excited about it. So probably not too much on either side. If you want to correlate Spurgeon, that's fine. Otherwise, I might dump down to Kulikov or Merrill. But again, doesn't feel great.
Yeah, no, not a lot of great defense options in that game. As I mentioned earlier, Yahoo Fantasy, they are our sponsor, have been all season, and we have partnered with them for this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you've played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $2,000 NHL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. All right. Very important game coming up considering our ownership rates. Montreal, 2.4 implied goal total going into Winnipeg. Winnipeg has a 3.6 implied goal total. If you're an Awesemo subscriber, you might want to look at the ownership rates for Winnipeg 1 and 2, because this is a 9-game slate, and we have half the field with either Winnipeg 1 or Winnipeg 2 as a stack in the lineup. 25.7% for Winnipeg 1, 24.2 ownership percent for Winnipeg 2. Josh, are they going to do it to us again?
I've been consulting my flow chart all day. Is Winnipeg playing? Yes. Are they in a good matchup? Yes. Do you play them? No. Listen. Like Winnipeg 1's going to go out against bottom 6 matchups. Like Marty St. Louis has been using Rempit like Jake Evans as the shutdown line, but that line is so bad. I don't know if I can just get behind playing dusty old Mark Scheifele and Wheeler at 26%. Like even Paul Stastny's coming at 25%. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting a little sneaky here. Going to go to Kyle Connor, Pierlock, Dubois. Higher ownership? What? They're probably going to get they might see a pretty good amount of Suzuki. Although with Kopp back, they might send out the third line against top.
That's what I was thinking. That third line for Winnipeg had been getting some shutdown minutes when Andrew Kopp was there, not when he was injured. Maybe they'll get some more when he's back.
Yeah, I mean, so whew. If you trap me in you trap me, and you said you have to put Winnipeg in your lineup, I'm going to put Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois. They've just been better together. Like Stastny, Scheifele, Wheeler, underwater, 5-on-5. They just always get there on the power play and in the empty net.
Imagine thinking that line being underwater means anything. God almighty.
Yeah, it means nothing. According to that, that Canadian bets guy, the analytics. Winnipeg. I cannot consciously put Scheifele and Wheeler into my one lineup and expect them to get there on the power play and empty net. That's not something you can rely on. It just always happens. So for me, I'm gonna if I had to play Winnipeg, it would be Kyle Connor, Dubois. Now, if you want a full power play stack, that's fine. Montreal Canadian penalty kill, not good. So yeah, if you want to include Scheifele and Wheeler on a power play stack, God bless you. So and if I had to play a full line, it would be Connor, Dubois, Svechnikov. Svechnikov's min price. He's been good there since he's got moved up there. So I think you include him if you're playing Winnipeg 2. You get the 3 for a little bit lower ownership, and you go about your day. If you want to play Winnipeg 1 because you disagree with the flow chart, play Winnipeg 1 when they get there. Just shoot me some hate mail on Twitter, and we'll discuss it like scholars. So I'm out on Winnipeg 1. I'm fine with the power play stack. It's just the ownership thing, right? It's a great matchup, but the ownership is just bananas. The ownership's bananas on Winnipeg 2 too. Winnipeg 2-2. But I think you include Svechnikov. People are going to leave him off and then include Wheeler or something like that, or include the D-man. I think you include Svechnikov at min price, hope he hits the score sheet, and you go about your day. On the Montreal side, if they do send out that Kopp line, I do have some interest in that Montreal top line. They're fully correlated. They're coming in around 1.5-2%. That line plays big minutes since Marty St. Louis has taken over. They have pretty decent numbers. Suzuki's been shooting more. Caulfield's shooting percentage is, coming back to where it should be. So I think there's some merit, despite the 2.4 total, to going back to Montreal 1 here. Winnipeg's penalty kill, it's better. They still take a bunch of penalties. So I think including a Hoffman or a Gallagher with Caulfield Suzuki makes some sense too if you want to leave Anderson off. Yeah,
it's Montreal too that actually caught my eye here. The Gallagher, Dauphin, Mike Hoffman line has been pretty good since they got put together. 55% of the shot share, generating 60 shot attempts per 60 minutes. That's perfectly just fine. 3.3 expected goals for per 60 as well. The problem is they've been home a fair bit before this little recent road trips, and at home, they're getting third and fourth line matchups. Here they're going to get, I guess they're still getting a third line matchup. They're still going to get Lowry and Kopp probably, or a fair bit of them anyway. Brendan Gallagher, his shot rate and shot quality numbers since Martin St. Louis took over, quite literally amongst the best in hockey, like at 5-on-5, I should say. So like Gallagher won off, Hoffman won off, just a duo of the two of them for under 7K on DraftKings, both on top power play, I think is just fine. I do like a little two-man Winnipeg two-stack or Montreal two-stack here. On the Winnipeg side, listen, oh God, both top lines are ostensibly in a good spot. Montreal has been better offensively. They just haven't gotten that much better defensively, and penalty kill is still not great either. There are reasons to play Winnipeg here. One is the price, two is the matchup, three, they're at home. It's just an ownership thing. That's it. Like if half the field is going to have some sort of Winnipeg stack, I'd rather play Sam Montembeault in tournaments. Like that's just kind of the way I feel. So like if you want to play Winnipeg, go ahead. They're in a great spot. I wrote up Evgeny Svechnikov in the Power Plays article for that reason. It's not that they're in a bad spot or anything like that. It's just simply ownership. That's all. So I think I'd be more inclined to play the Montreal goalie in tournaments than the Winnipeg top six. But if people want to play that Winnipeg top six, Winnipeg power play, whatever, no arguments for me. On the blue line, there's nobody I want to play in this game other than maybe Dylan DeMello. Who you got?
Yeah, at first I saw Nate Schmidt 2,800, and I thought that was a wild mispricing, but then I went into his game logs. He's been playing like 14, 15 minutes a night. Okay? I'm out on that. So, like, yeah, Dylan DeMello, Brandon Dillon, the two guys I play from Winnipeg. Brett Kulak at min price, okay. Petrie, 4,200, okay. Like, I'd rather just look elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And try to convince you to play Jeff Petrie this year.
I see a super chat from Wolf Girl. Thank you very much for the $20 super chat. It's very generous. Just wanted to say thanks for doing so awesome, guys. Had a great night on DK on Saturday. Buy some Bang and hair care goodies. Yeah, did have a good night on Saturday. She had a good night on Friday as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like pretty good month of February, all told. It seems like she was posting a screenshot like every other day in our Discord. So thank you very much for your super chat, and congrats on all the hard work and success that you've had so far this year. Let's hope we can keep this up over the next 2 months.
I need some hair care goodies.
New York Islanders 2.2 implied goal total going into Colorado. The Avs have a 3.8 implied goal total. No Matt Barzal here for the Islanders. Brock Nelson still going to be up on the top line. Been lots of talk in our Discord about this game, Josh. Why don't you just tell us your opinion?
Yeah, I like Colorado 1. There's a shocker. I mean, listen, here's the thing. Islanders don't take many penalties. Colorado is 2 for the last 30 on the power play. A couple nights ago, Colorado got there at 5-on-5. Like they just ran through Winnipeg at 5-on-5. That can certainly happen here tonight. You don't have to play Colorado for the power play. This is not a good power play matchup. It's just not. So I don't think you need to leave Burakovsky off and add in Landeskog or add in Kadri, this and that. I think you just flat out stack Colorado 1 or you flat out stack Colorado 2 here tonight. I don't think you have to get tricky. I don't think you need a power play stack. I think it was Corsi who dropped in the stat. In the last 17 games, the Islanders have taken 2 or less penalties in 16 of them, which is just an insane stat. Like, they just don't take, of course, now they're going to take like 7, but like, that's just an insane stat. So I think for Colorado, you just flat out stack Colorado 1 or Colorado 2. I prefer Colorado 1. The ownership's fine. Like, it's in double digits, but it's not extreme. You know what I mean? Like, Mikko Rantanen is mispriced. Like, let's just be real. 6,600 for Mikko Rantanen is a misprice. If it was Mitch Marner, we'd just be like, he's priced where he should be. But Mikko Rantanen, wildly underpriced. So, yeah, I'm in on Colorado 1. You want to go to Colorado 2? I think that's fine. On the Islanders side, I don't know if I'm going to get to anything here. The Pajot Palmieri line is so high, man.
Yeah.
Like, maybe. Like, Pajot at 2,700, Palmieri 2,900. I don't mind them as a filler. Like, they're going to give up a ton of chances, but they're also going to create a bunch. And if you're looking to power play stack the Tampa Lightning or the Oilers, doing something like JG Pajot Palmieri, JG Pajot Parisi, for like 5 and change will let you do that comfortably. If you want to go up to that top line, do with Anders Lee and Beauvillier for 6,700, that's fine. I just, they're going to get McKinnon, Rent, and Burakovsky, and that's just not great 5-on-5. Granted, the Colorado second line has been pretty good too, but that line, the Islander second line has just been really good at creating, and they're just super cheap, and I think that's why I would include them as fillers in MMA.
Yeah, the Islanders, they've been a lot better in the second half of the season. I know like Pajot and Palmieri have been high event, but a lot of that was earlier in the season when they had that absolute circus road trip to start the year and then had the COVID shutdown. Like they had a 13-game road trip to start the season and then got shut down by COVID. Like that was the first 2 months of their year. So like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So they started to turn things back around. I agree with you. They have gotten a little bit better, but there's just nothing I want to play from the Islanders side. Like, I'm sorry. Without Matt Barzal, I think does way more heavy lifting offensively than he gets credit for on this team. He is by far their best offensive player, and it's not even close.
That's not.
Yeah. So, if you want to get some high event, possibly high event Islanders too in there, I think that's okay. I'm going to stick on the Colorado side. I just don't I'm sorry for anybody that plays over on FanDuel. You just can't play Colorado. I think it's 29,000 for the top line and 24 and change for the second line. I don't know how you play that. Thankfully, Nichushkin and Landeskog have been very good together this year in their sample. 65% of the shot share, 69% of the scoring chances in 70 minutes together. I think that can run through that Islanders second line of Palmieri, Pajot, and Parise. So I kind of like dipping down. Like you said, this is a 5-on-5 matchup for Colorado. It's not a power play matchup for them. So I think it might dip down to the second line on DraftKings, at least for Colorado. I don't know what people are going to do on FanDuel. Good luck with that. On the blue line, Ryan Pulock, I know he can block a lot of shots, but blocking a lot of shots, even for 4K, that feels like a lot. I think I might almost rather play min price Andy Green, to be quite honest. If all I'm looking for is block shots from the Islanders. On the Colorado side, Devin Taves, really cheap for Colorado on DraftKings. Like him. Anybody else?
Yep, Taves. I think I go to Pellick or Mayfield on the Islanders. They're under 3K. Mayfield shoots the puck. 2,900, I think it's fine.
Yeah, just want to give a quick shout out to Yahoo Fantasy for being such a good sponsor to us this year. If you're a first-time Yahoo player, you can claim some free money just down below for first-time Yahoo users only. The Awesemo Hall of Fame is what Josh joined over the weekend, and it's where we like to celebrate all of our subscriber success. If you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, you download the avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account, and you do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Another 5-figure takedown for TO Deck over on FanDuel playing some NBA. I believe that was a split of first. Congrats to you. Terry Dez 169 taking down second in the NBA 60K as well. Nadu taking down second place for $250 playing NBA as well. You see NBA 10K single entry, $1,000 off $27 only. And finally, Ricardo taking down third place in NBA again for $2,500. Real good job by the NBA guys. So send those wins into the Awesemo Hoff account. Coming up after us, we have the No House Advantage NBA show 30 minutes after we're done. And then the Locks Before Lock NBA prop show at 4:30 Eastern, followed by our NBA double dose of the deeper dive and live before lock. All right, we got 2 games to get through real quick, Josh. Let's get through San Jose with a 2.4 implied goal total going into Vegas. The Golden Knights have a 3.6 implied goal total. I know Max Pacioretty is out. They're going to send out Vegas 2 against San Jose 1 here. The San Jose second line has been awful.
4 expected goals against.
Logan Couture is at 3.4 expected goals against over the last 6 weeks. Just abysmal. And, that coincides with that injury to Erik Karlsson. Quite honestly, I like the Vegas top line here tonight. It's just a matter of how I'm going to stack it. What do you think about this game, Josh?
Yeah, so first of all, Jake just messaged us and said Vegas 2 ran through Colorado 1 the other night on Sunday night. Listen, if you spend Saturday night in Vegas as the road team and you don't enjoy the festivities and are a little bit dehydrated, we'll say, for the Sunday night game, that's fine. But listen, I still think Vegas 2 is a good play here. They're under 13K. Hurdle Meyer have very good numbers together. Not as great as they were 6 weeks ago. Still okay. Sharks still bad defensively, so if you want to go to Vegas 2, that's fine. But like Couture, Gregor, DeSingle in their small sample, giving up over 4 expected goals against per 60. Like, yeah, like Jack Eichel with Evgeny Dadonov and Chandler Stevenson on his wings don't exactly inspire. Like, yay. But like, that's just so bad. And they're fully correlated on the power play. I don't know. I don't think you have to full stack here. I think you can leave off Dadonov or lead off Stevenson and just pair like Eichel Stevenson with Theodore or Eichel Dadonov with Theodore or just two-man them. As long as you include Eichel, like you can just go Eichel Theodore, really.
Yeah.
If you want. So I mean, like, I think you include one of the guys just because they're mid threes on DraftKings and they're on the top power play with him, along with a very good 5-on-5 matchup. So I think you can full stack him. I think you can two-man him. You can three-man power play. You can form it. You do you. So Vegas 1 for me. Don't mind Hurdle Meyer. Like Carlson, Marchessault Smith, good line, not great defensively. So, but 2.2 total on the road. Probably look elsewhere for how pricey they are.
Yeah, just real quick. San Jose won 44% scoring chance share in the month of February. Erik Karlsson being injured has really hurt that team. Nothing for me from San Jose. As I mentioned, like Vegas 2, perfectly fine to use them. Anybody wants to use them, go right ahead. I just think I'll be going to Vegas 1, perfectly correlated top line with Jack Eichel. All right, final game, Boston, 3.2 implied goal total going into Anaheim. The Ducks have a 2.4 implied goal total. Boston played last night, as mentioned earlier, put a beat down on the Kings, 7-0. Anaheim typically doesn't have a very good penalty kill. Boston usually sometimes has a good power play. The top line didn't play a ton of minutes last night because it was a beat down. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like Boston's one of those teams back-to-back on the road that I tend to avoid more than the other ones. Like I'd much rather play New Jersey back-to-back on the road because they're a young team. And, you know, Bergeron seems like he's been playing hurt for 12 years now. So like these back-to-back games kind of like hamper him more than most. I don't know if I'd full stack anything. If I did, it would probably be that second line. Not super thrilled about that second line though. You can one off DeBrusk, something like that. He got cheaper after his hat trick. Good job, DraftKings. Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you for your service. I don't know. I'd probably go to Boston too. Maybe a little DeBrusk. On the Ducks side, nothing super exciting there. We'll have to see lines. But again, like Boston 1, here's the reason to play Boston 1. They're going to send out Steele, Lundestrom, Silfverberg against them. They're like a 35% line. Like regardless if Bergeron is a road cone tonight, they're still going to score.
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
out on the Ducks unless we see some good lines together.
Yeah, not a good matchup for Anaheim. They are going to send out the second and third lines against that Boston top line. And yeah, it is a back-to-back on the road for them, but they didn't play a ton last night, and it is still just a great matchup. Just watch the ownership for them on DraftKings. Like, I'm not sold on playing Boston 1 yet tonight. I think it might be more of a power play stack because I think I want to get David Pasternak in against that awful Anaheim penalty kill. That's kind of my thought on that game. All right, Josh, we got to get out of here. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick for tonight, I'm going to go a little bit funky and say Kevin Fiala. My goalies are Ilya Sorokin, Elvis Merzlikins, Connor Hellebuck. Who you got?
Yeah, goalie, there's a lot of options here. Sorokin, yeah, if you're fading Colorado here, Sorokin at 6,900 is interesting. Hellebuck, if you're paying up, makes some sense. I think Markstrom's fine. Talbot's fine in GPPs if you're for correlating. Nedeljkovic is an interesting play as well. You know, Carolina is always a high shot volume team. I like Merzlikins as well. My hat trick pick is going to be Jack Eichel.
Ooh, I love it. I was actually considering that too. So we're kind of both on Vegas one here. Jack Eichel, Kevin Fiala, your hat trick picks. We're getting out of here. We will be back tomorrow for another show. Until then, for producer Tyler, for a single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, I'm saying good luck tonight, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Flow sheet season.